Every woman deserves to feel vibrant, safe, loved, and feel her power. The Women's Vibrancy Code podcast is here for a potent use of your time. We will cover energy, hormones, and libido with episodes that also dive into entrepreneurship, money mindset, feminine power, and much, much more. Introducing Maraya Brown, Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert, midwife, mom, and entrepreneur.
All right, welcome back to the Women's Vibrancy Code podcast. Maraya Brown here. I have an Oprah endorsed Dr. Shefali interview today to bring to you. Oh my goodness. This is an exciting one. This is a repurposed interview. For those of you that have been following me for years, I first started in the virtual world by running a company called Beyond the Red Tent, which was a platform, mind, body, and spirit, to vet experts and products and bring them to the marketplace. And this was an amazing interview with Dr. Shefali. So listen up and here we go. All right. Hello, Dr. Shefali. Let me read your bio. For those of you that don't know who she is, I'm assuming the majority do, but if you don't, Dr. Shefali's blend of clinical psychology and Eastern mindfulness sets her apart as a leader in the field of mindfulness psychology. As an international speaker, she speaks at events around the globe, spreading her message of conscious parenting and mindful living. She also has a private practice where she consults with families and couples. Oprah, yes, Oprah has endorsed her work as revolutionary and life-changing. Dr. Shefali's groundbreaking approach to mindful living and parenting has taken her books to the top of the New York Times bestsellers list. She also offers online courses that cover topics like anger, anxiety, purpose, meaning, relationships, and conscious health. In this interview, she was just launching her newest online course called Free to Be, where she was diving deep into conscious relationships. You'll see the link to register as well as all of her social media handles in the show notes. Let's get moving and grooving. Okay, so Dr. Shefali, I am beyond excited. Talking about relationships, what is a conscious relationship?
Yeah, I wanted to do this course and I've called it Free to Be, and it's actually starting on March 6th. And the reason I wanted to do this course is because I've seen so many of us trapped in unconscious relationships, unable to be authentic. And I see this with women more than with men, because we women are emotionally connected beings. We are emotionally literate and articulate. So we are more prone to suffer in an unconscious relationship because we will be suppressing our authentic selves. Whereas, say, with a man, he may just not even be in touch with his emotional literacy or emotional authenticity. But we are in touch with it, but then we find ourselves playing roles. And because we've been conditioned in a particular way, mostly to be givers, mostly to self-sacrifice, mostly to serve others. And in this self-abnegation, in this nurturing of others before the self, we suppress our authentic voice and we suffer. And I think we're seeing a rise of the woman's voice now because we're tired of playing a role and tired of living behind a mask and tired of being the self-sacrificing, ever-giving person. It's okay to be that, but we've somehow lost ourselves in that. And so my course, Free to Be, is really to empower women. I mean, it's for men too, but really, actually, it's to liberate women. So a conscious relationship is one where we enter with a focus on growth. It's not on service. It's on growth. And it's the shift away from caring for the other to really authenticity. Redefining relationships, no more about compromise and, give and take. It's really about growth, about the primacy of your authenticity. And when that is aligned with, everything falls in place on a very different vibrational frequency than the typical traditional advice of give and take and compromise and meet each other's needs. I debunk all of that.
Okay, regarding relationships and personal development, what about the relationships where there's a disconnect? Let's say, I imagine my community is all women. There's probably a lot of women that take your programs, especially one like this on relationships. And what if the woman is like, yes, I want to dive deep. I want to do the personal development. I want to look myself in the mirror. I really want to up level the nature of our relationship. but her partner simply isn't on the same page, not on board, and not ready to do the same personal development, what then?
Well, let me just break this apart. First, let me say it is the most ubiquitous common thing in my communities because I have women who are coming to be authentic, to liberate, to become conscious. And their first complaint is, but my husband's not on board. Number one. Number two, it is a gender problem. I don't mean to knock men down, but we women seem to be on the vanguard of a greater awakening. We are hungry, we're thirsty. And again, it's because biologically, primarily, we are nurtured to connect. We are raised to serve the inner being. You know, we're not outward focused, we're internal. And so by nature, we gravitate towards consciousness movements more than men. So in my audiences, every fourth person is a man, but it's 1 out of 4. So women are on the vanguard. We are on the precipice. We are the ones who will make the change, but we will suffer because what do we do with our unconscious partners? What do we do with these men who are also conditioned, but they're conditioned differently? They're conditioned to look outward. What is a woman to do? Number 3, the whole institution of marriage needs to be overhauled and looked at because we enter partnerships in our late 20s, I'm being generous, or early 30s. And most of us, at least in our generation, definitely in our 20s, we're thinking the clock is ticking. So think about it. We enter these institutions, and the institution of marriage was predicated on property ownership and control of women and children. So we don't realize what we're entering into because we're like all naive and in love and the hormones are raging and the clock is ticking and we don't know who we are. We're so clueless, right? So now we're bound to this person and who's kind of possessive, and it's indicative of the institution that there's possession and control. I mean, it's a subliminal message of the institution. And because we're not awakened, we willingly walk into this not realizing that we should have predicated the partnership on other fundamentals of growth, spiritual awareness, self-care, of raising consciousness, of elevating who it is we are, finding our truth. We didn't do all that. We were just like sickness and in health. Please be here forever. Okay, be mine. And that's possession and control, right? We didn't found our marriage. We didn't base our marriage on growth. So now what? Now we're growing as women and the other one isn't growing. Now we're misaligned. Well, I talk about this in my course and how we can make empowered choices and how not to be disheartened, and how to think about what our next step is, because for different women, it'll be different things. Some women will learn to accept it because their children are too young and she doesn't have money. Some children will learn to change themselves. Some will try to change the other and some will leave. It'll be a combination of all these things.
It's interesting. In my scenario, my husband and I have been together for 16 years and we're both personal development junkies. Like I know that if we were to both take this course, we would both dive in, and that's unique. A lot of the women that come into my space, they often wish their husbands were as on board. And I do watch as a woman transforms and starts changing over time. Often the husbands kind of start peeking around the corner and go, look at that transformation. What is it that you're doing over there? And they do kind of meet her. But I'm curious, in the midst of the work that you do, is it predominantly you teaching, or are there actual examples of real couples with both, heterosexual, I'm assuming heterosexual husband, wife, or male, female duos that are sharing their own stories and giving their real life examples of how this stuff works?
Yes, we have a real life couple going through stuff with us, and I'll probably pick up people along the way to do work with. I really believe in experimenting the actual work and not just being a talking head. So right now I have a coaching institute, and my next cohort is going to be starting in September. So if any of your women want to be conscious parenting coaches, they can look at my institute. But in the institute, the first cohort is happening right now. I do a lot of practical role playing. So somebody writes on Facebook, I'm struggling with being angry with my 5-year-old. So I'm like, come do a role play with me. So I love to show people in real time what it's all about, because it's not theoretical. It's very practical what I teach, and it can be translated in real time, and people can liberate out of dysfunctional inner homes right away. The outside home doesn't have to change. I help people change on the inside, and I empower men and women to change the status quo with beauty, with compassion, with love, but yes, to be bold and to change their lives. Life is too short to live in fear and suffering.
Okay, would you be open to just talking a little bit about the flow of Free to Be, this course of yours? What are kind of the nuts and bolts? What can someone expect? And also, what are the end objectives, so to speak? In an ideal world, when a woman or a couple or a man finish free to be, what is it that you're really hoping and they're really hoping to experience or say or accomplish on the other end of finishing?
I typically start with all the ways we are lying to ourselves and all the flaws in the way we are believing things. And what we believe about relationships is fundamentally flawed. What we believe about partnerships, what we believe about friendships, what we believe about marriage, what we believe about love, cheating, betrayal, loyalty, forgiveness, all these are flawed concepts. So first I educate people in a new way of looking at things. And so I really screw with their brain, like it's like all being rattled and shaken all around. And when it's sufficiently loosened, then I come with actionable things they can do to really begin implementing real-time solutions. And Facebook is a big part of my courses where people process and they write and I give homework and we practice together and we reveal the inner child, because really we're inner children with other people's inner children. We're not grown-ups in a relationship. We're unmet needs of one person trying to meet the unmet needs of the other person, and no one is being able to meet the needs. I call it twin beggars. We're both begging, but no one has anything to give. So I show people schematically, symbolically what we're really doing, and it's epiphanic for people. They have many aha moments, and then we begin to really change. So Facebook community support, my lectures, I'm going to have a town hall meeting once a month. I'm going to have this live case, and it's all recorded, so you don't have to be there live. I'm very hands-on in the Facebook group. It's a 5-month program, guaranteed at the end of 5 months, people will be different in a good way, in an empowered way. They may not still be in their relationships. They may have walked away from many relationships, but it'll all be to the better. Relationships that needed to be cast off, needed to be sloughed off, needed to be released.
Oh, yeah, I love that. And this idea of our inner child work and healing that aspect of our inner child from when we were young that didn't feel safe and continues to show up in our stress response today, or how we parent today and how we show up in relationships. I really appreciate that you look at it through that lens, because then we become more empowered adults and heal the planet, I believe, but also we show up differently in how we mother and parent our own children, so that hopefully, of course, they'll have their own inner child stuff to work on, but hopefully we're breaking the patterns of the things that were really painful for us when we were little. So, wow, thank you so much.
And it's really about breaking unconscious cycles. It's not about, trying to create the perfect image. It's about really freeing ourselves from the bondage of unconscious patterns that we seem to just repetitiously enact and not even know we're in a pattern.
And 5 months. Do some go, wow, I have to dedicate an entire 5 months? That's a long time.
Well, I do year-long courses. I have 2 year-long courses, which people take. I mean, they're 52 hours. But I did 2 year-long courses because people take time to change. It's about embedding these concepts so it becomes your second nature. Change doesn't happen easily. These are profound things that I talk about, complex for many people who've never been exposed to spiritual wisdom teachings. So I allow it to really seep in. It's a process. Yeah. I want to take people on a process. I don't want them to be easy fixed or just listening. I want them to experientially go through some deep work.
Oh, that's beautiful. And we had the opportunity to invest in ourselves, and for 5 months. And how awesome that it's all done virtually. We don't have to drive to go to therapy appointments. We can do it in our own timing within our relationship once the children are asleep.
This is therapy. It's moving, mobilized, actionable, deep, direct therapy happening. You'll see. I'm gonna give it to you for a gift.
Thank you. And what about the individuals that aren't in relationship yet? Like, I'm even thinking the younger women that might be listening to this, or at any age, but they have not yet found their relationship. What do you say to the women that maybe could dig in and do their work now in preparation to find that lifelong partner that they're really looking to find?
Exactly. I'm going to, in this course, talk about the quote unquote matched partner and the mismatched partner and what to look out for. But on the other hand, we also know that we're all going to make mistakes, and the young ones are going to make their own mistakes, because the mistakes are not mistakes. They are an unfolding of consciousness. They are a depiction of where we were consciously and how unhealed we were to where we are now. So the mistakes are just wounds that haven't been healed. So sometimes we have to go through the muck, as long as we're willing to understand what the muck is about and evolve.
Oh, yes, that muck. The trials, the bad, well, not bad decisions, the decisions where I go, wow, that was a fascinating one. And of course, I'm so grateful that I went through it and learned. And I imagine there's women listening going, oh, yeah, that decision back there and that experience, it was the muck and we went through it. And as a mother with young daughters, it's inevitable that I think, how do I protect them? Can I save them from making the poor decisions that I did? Any thoughts there?
You save her by giving her a way to think about her life. If she can understand what it's about, then she will be okay. So when my daughter just recently had a blip with her close male friend, I was able to contextualize it for her. I didn't take away the experience for her. You don't want to take away the pain. No. You want to create wisdom within the pain. Because when the pain makes sense, you're understanding why it's there and how you co-created it and then how you can evolve. And you never want to take away the pain. You can't take away the pain. The pain is the pain of the past coming out. You want to have wisdom in the pain so that the pain doesn't just mindlessly repeat itself.
Right. So we actually, as parents, have to let them fall, let them climb the tree, let my son go out there on the hockey rink, let my daughter do her aerial silks and let them learn or not.
You can't like cut it short and go, no relationships. Right. Then how are they going to evolve?
Okay. So in creating Free to Be, you've kind of transitioned from being in the parenting realm over to the relationship realm. I'm curious, what do you think is the most profound aspect of the work that you're doing now in this arena of relationships?
It's not very different from conscious parenting, but it's just more adult and more real, more grimy, because now it's like serious. With children, it's serious too, but children bring some sort of beauty to the process, but adults just bring the grind, So you have to get really strong with adults and really break down walls. Parents are easier to work with because it's unmistakable that the child had nothing to do with it, or very little to do with it. With adults, we're like, no, 50%, you stay more strong, so you have to be more powerful. But I think what I teach people is to look at the relationship as a mirror and to look in the mirror correctly. And if you look inside correctly, you'll see your own co-creation so easily. And then I teach people to disrupt the pattern. And when you disrupt the pattern, everything changes. Doesn't mean things become better, easier. It just changes. So I empower people that change is inevitable. We are here to evolve. Evolution is transformation. Transformation is the transform. You have to trans the form. The form has to change. What is form? The self, the house, the body, the money. Something has to give. You have to die unto yourself. And I give people the courage to die.
Oh, don't we all have different relationships with change? For me, I feel like it's the one constant. I just with my husband the other night, we watched our wedding video for the first time and we were just laughing. All of the change, all of the big leaps and the ginormous decisions that we've made in our lives, both before we were together and together. I love change.
I love it. You've changed so much already. That's why you're not afraid. Right. But most people have just been clinging to stagnancy and they're extremely afraid to change. So I make change exciting and sexy and adventurous so they can love it and not be afraid.
All right. Speaking of sexy, now we're talking. Is that true? In the midst of this, there is also aspects of a dive into the sexuality and our sexual relationships within our relationships?
Well, especially for women, we need to liberate ourselves sexually. And part of our liberation sexually is an autonomy from men. We need to stop being dependent on getting validated by men. And we need to really enter our beauty and our boldness and our aging and our cellulite with real embrace. Because when we do, we will change the paradigm. Then we will make men love women with cellulite. But we are subscribing to the whole paradigm that we shouldn't have cellulite, for example, or shouldn't have wrinkles. So we become robots, look like little Botox Barbie dolls and butt lifted Barbie dolls. So then we train the men to only like that. Then we are a slave to that. Then we train them to that, being part of that co-creation. So if enough of us women go, no, we don't care, the men will have no choice and go, okay, I love you, right? But we are allowing men to objectify us in our own way. Men are doing their part, but we're also doing our part. So I help women to liberate their sexuality by really celebrating their ordinariness, their body, their curves. And when we liberate ourselves sexually, by also pleasing ourselves, right? I talk about masturbation and how we need to love our bodies and please our bodies. And there's nothing wrong with being sexy and sexual and sensual with ourselves first, and then with our partners. Because the whole industry of sex is so under taboo. When it is how we're born, it is how we are here. It's just so puritanical and archaic. It's almost, nauseating because it's a farce.
Oh my gosh, yes. Not just the expectation of men, but also this conversation around cellulite and Botox and self-pleasuring. It's so good and so juicy. Are we setting ourselves up to have set the men up to have poor expectations of us and what beautiful is, but also the expectations of one another amongst women? And I think sometimes it's like this self-fulfilling foundation of competition that happens amongst women, of the comparisonitis and what we see as beautiful. And I'm so grateful that you advocate for self-pleasuring and to bring this conversation of sensuality and sexuality alive. Yes, it is what brings life into the world and how we're all born. Oh, so good. And even the presence of vagina. It's amazing to me how stigmatized it is. People can't even say the word.
We don't want to look at our own vagina and get pleasure from it. It's there for pleasure. I mean, we can look at the Tuscan hills and have pleasure in nature. We are part of that. We're part of nature. This is nature. It's been so blasphemized because we've been cut off from nature. If we see ourselves just like we would the rolling hills of Tuscany, we would love ourselves. But we see ourselves separate from nature, you see? We think we're superior and then we make ourselves inferior. If we just saw ourselves just ordinary like nature and as splendorous as nature, then we would enjoy our body. I know women who've never seen or touched their clitoris or seen their vagina or touched them. I mean, this is a disservice because you know what we do? Then we give men power and then we cry about it.
Oh, yes. To complain about it and then hand it over. So profound and powerful. And as a women's health provider, it's just how I worked. Women would come in for their annuals and here's a mirror. Like, this is your body. This is the only body you're going to get. And it's amazing to me how many women have never looked at themselves and how many women have never experienced an orgasm. They don't even know what it is, of all ages. I go, wow. And they don't know. They think something is wrong with them. They come to me saying, am I broken? And they think, what you see on the movies is how it's supposed to go, right? It's such an important conversation. And I'm so grateful that you are shedding light on it.
We've been trained to give and sacrifice and have no pleasure. This is how we've been conditioned. And, 70% of women don't have orgasms. And then we're really upset when men are enjoying sex, and going to other women because we're not enjoying it. So if you don't enjoy it, you don't have it. You don't have it. Anyway, you can never have it enough as men. So now you're not enjoying it and having even less than a woman who would enjoy it. Now the discrepancy between a man's sexual drive and your sexual drive is an abyss. Then we get upset when they go out and get it. So it's all a big mess, Both contribute. It's not just women who contribute. Men contribute to the issue too. But we need to have honest dialogue around it, transparent dialogue.
Right. I mean, isn't it sex and money? Those are the two big sources of conflict between relationships. And I love this idea of women really standing in our feminine power and owning our sensuality, owning our arousal, owning our sexuality. And it's like this revival of dropping into our own deep self-love to be able to know that we are enough and we're worthy of feeling pleasure and feeling spectacular. And then start seeing the beauty in other women around us, that they are also enough. It makes me think of the last retreat, this moment where so many of the women, their aha was, wow, women come in such a variety of shapes and sizes, and they're all so beautiful. And if I can see the beauty in them, maybe I'm also beautiful. And so this journey of empowering women to really embody our feminine power and to relinquish the control and allow our needs to be met and allow our pleasure to be a priority and feel feminine, voluptuous, sultry power in our beauty as we are. Ah, it's so good.
It has nothing to do with hating men. It's about us hating ourselves and being so critical of each other. You know, one woman on a dining table talking about her weight and diet and her wrinkles ruins it for everybody because our default is already so primed for that. We need to never talk about this for like decades and generations for it to be removed from our consciousness. You know, we've been so deeply conditioned to look unnatural now, you know, and feel ashamed about it and not understand nature, you know, not understand a male's nature, not understand a female's nature. And we're really suffering because of it.
So it sounds like with this course and with the work that you do, you just, want to change the world, change the planet. Is that kind of what I'm hearing here?
No, just a few hundred women.
So Free to Be is starting and?
Yes. So I have a live class every week, but it's all recorded. And there's so much inspirational stuff that I post and I slowly change the way people think about themselves, their bodies, and their relationships with everyone. And what it means to have boundaries, what it means to say no, what it means to be authentic, what it means to live fearlessly, what it means to not be enmeshed, enabled, and dependent, what it means to understand the typical pattern of a narcissist enabler, the typical, male-female paradigms, how to take back power, how to be compassionate and release people, how to let go and move on, all this stuff.
Well, Dr. Shefali, this has been spectacular. I'm so grateful for who you are in the world. And I know that the clock is ticking, so to speak. For all of you that are listening, the details to learn more about her courses, as well as how to reach out to her, will all be in the show notes. And I have one last question for you in your own self-exploration and looking in the mirror. And that is, if you could tell your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Stop pretending, stop lying to yourself, stop playing small, and really, you're worthy, you have one life to live. Just start being you. Your mission is to be you.
Oh, thank you again. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for your honesty. And I know that everyone that's listening is so, so grateful.
Thank you, everyone. I hope I see some of you women there. We will change the world together.
All right. And to the Women's Vibrancy Code listeners, wow, wasn't that a powerful one? And if you're looking for more amazing content around your women's health journey, don't forget to follow us here, subscribe, leave a review, give a 5-star review. And until next time, cheers to your experience of your own version of a vibrant relationship, vibrant life, vibrant health, and vibrant experience of your sensuality, sexuality, and hope for the future. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the Women's Vibrancy Code. Connect with us and take the first step to transforming your energy, hormones, and libido at thewomensvibrancycode.com. Cheers to your zest and vitality. Make sure to follow for weekly power-packed value.